Audio check 1 2. Hey, 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 hey.
Hey. Hey.
Shouldn't our test be?
I'm not wearing any pants. I mean, we're talking about Rush today.
So I'm the digital man, and this is my analog kid, and we are here to talk our Rush origin story. Everybody wants to know, all right, well, when did you first get into Rush? So should I start?
Oh, yeah,
Since
you got into Rush first.
I'm the patriarch of this Rush kingdom. Well, you know, I kind of don't remember the first time I ever heard Rush. I don't remember the first album. I don't remember the first song. I had older brothers who were into music, so they were always listening to music, and I just sort of heard it from their rooms. But I do remember Rush piquing my interest very quickly. So I would say probably at my earliest memory is a lot of moving pictures, a lot of Exit Stage Left. That seems to be my earliest memories. So that would have put it in the 80, 81 range. So I was a wee tyke. But that's what I remember hearing around the house. The other thing that was birthed in my house for me was playing drums at a very early age. I have a picture of me in diapers hitting a drum set with a...
And there's absolutely no connection between Rush and playing drums. Just absolutely no connection. You know,
I wonder why Rush was a gravitational pull. But so there was a drum set. My older brothers had bands, and so there was always kind of a drum set in the house, and I always snuck down there and played. So
how do you sneakily play the drums?
you don't, actually. You get found out real quick. So I brought some items for show and tell to show exactly when I definitely got involved. Here is my Rush ticket. I have to, hey, zoom in. Yeah, there's my Rush ticket from April 26th, 1986. This was not my first concert. My first concert was, in fact, Kiss on their Lick It Up tour, the one just after the makeup came off. But this was my first Rush show and probably maybe second concert I ever went to. The ticket was $14.50. I pressed this in a book my entire life since then, so it's in pretty good shape. I've looked up, if you have the book, they talk about all their concerts, and it's all a list of how many people were there and what kind of songs they did, if there was something in the newspaper afterwards. So, but I was there, and in fact, my other show and tell piece is, this is still the tour shirt that I've framed. You can see that was the Power Windows tour. That was my shirt as a 10-year-old child that I've kept since then. So that's where Rush began for me, was in the early 80s. Signals, Grace Under Pressure, Power Windows was probably really where I began to emerge as a number one Rush fan in my family.
Well, he listened to Rush for his entire life. I have not confirmed if he played it in the womb for me, but there's a high likelihood that he did.
Oh, yes. It happened.
Yeah, so I grew up hearing it all the time, everywhere. He put a lot of songs on CDs that he would make us, and it was really, really fun, and I really enjoyed it. As a youngin', I went through different favorite band phases. Kiss was my favorite band for like a week. I'm not proud of that time in my life.
That's why we don't devote a podcast to that.
Exactly. Iron Maiden is my favorite band for a really long time.
Yeah.
My username or just nickname for anything since he made it for me has been Trion Maiden, because, that's my name, and I really liked Iron Maiden for a while. I didn't really start thinking of Rush as like my favorite band probably until halfway through high school, I think.
Yeah.
Just that was when I just really started getting into them. I think it was Signals and Hold Your Fire that really just piqued my interest. Ironically, they are now towards the bottom of my 80s Rush opinions, but yeah, I just had listened to them for a while. They were my favorites, and I called them my favorite, but I didn't really listen to like all of their music until second semester of freshman year of college, where I listened through all of their albums in chronological order except Feedback, because that one doesn't count. And then I just truly learned pretty much as I could about Rush musically, because I feel like if you learn about something musically, you've kind of learned everything you need to.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of cool stuff about the history of it and story behind it. You know, YYZ's Toronto Airport's area code, Morse code thing. And, you know, I feel like the best way to get to know a band is just listening to the music.
Yeah.
And you figure out who they are from that.
Yep. How many times have I seen Rush? Hold Your Fire was the next tour that came through Birmingham. I did not go to that one, unfortunately. There was either it was either a school night or some parents weren't crazy about me going for some reason. They were totally fine with this one, but something happened. They were like, "No, Hold Your Fire. Too much keyboards." I don't know. After Hold Your Fire would have been Presto. Mm-hmm. So I saw that tour, and I saw every album after that. And probably the only tour I didn't see was maybe R30 and R40. 2010, they did their Time Machine tour, and that was the first Rush show
I ever went to. Yeah, it was. I think it was actually 2011, maybe.
It could have been.
Yeah. But it was, I think it was the first, like, actual concert I went to. I think I went to, like, a Star Wars theme song show, but it was the first, like, actual, this is a band playing.
Rock and roll band.
Yeah, and it was a Rush show. Yeah. I'm one of the few members of my generation who can say they went to a Rush show.
That's right. But
I don't remember a thing.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember is I had the earmuffs on, and at a certain point in the concert, you were just like, "Are you ready?" And you just took the headphones off for a split second and then put them right back on. And then I remember we had binoculars. That's all I remember. I wore that shirt forever, but I don't remember much from the actual show.
And I have video of you drumming and singing along to YYZ. So you were what?
I was like 8 or 9.
Yeah, about eight or 9. Yeah, you wore my Power Window shirt to the gig, and we were in Vegas at the time, so we saw him at the MGM Grand in Vegas. If it makes you feel any better, I don't remember that much either. And we were sitting pretty far back. I do remember.
Yeah, I remember that.
At the Power Windows show, we were on the floor, like I mentioned, and I remember standing in the chair the whole time. Binoculars at that point as well, and just watching Neil the whole night, just fixated on that red drum kit he had, and that was pretty exciting time even for a 10-year-old. So, we both were about the same age seeing our first Rush show, so that's pretty cool. So passing it on. So, are you glad your father passed on Rush?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like they're really, in at least modern circles and where they're talked about, I feel like they are very underrated.
Yeah.
It's kind of like them and Toto, I would say, are two of the most underrated bands right now from that era. That's not talked about that like they're a modern band. They're just really underground, you know?
Yeah. Like, you may have never heard of them. They're called Toto. So, well, how do you find that? You're at college. You've called me a few times and like, I saw a Rush shirt across the, you know.
It's very rare to see. It's like when there are Rush fans in my generation, they are Rush fans. Like they are, their dads listen to Rush because it was never the moms who listened to Rush.
Even though your mom does listen to Rush, she doesn't just turn it on.
Yeah. I just always think about that friggin' video where it's like Paul Rudd and like Jason Segel like meeting Rush, and then like they're just talking about I saw 3 in the mezzanine.
Yeah, sorry,
it's like 7 females at a Rush concert.
Whoa.
That's a new record. Just
yeah, even they were aware it wasn't a female-centric band.
But no, it's there are people I know who have liked Rush, but it's always been passed down, and they've always been pretty big fans of it. So it's not like, you know, oh, you know, I know this song or I know that song. It's kind of like you know all of it or you know like none of it.
Yeah. When you were growing up, we obviously had drums in the house, and your brother gravitated towards drums, but we kept putting a guitar in your hand, hoping maybe you would learn how to play the guitar. But that kind of changed a little bit for you. So tell us how.
Well, quite simply, you can fry an egg on these things. I'm a 6'7" guy. I know that sounds fake, but it's true. It's always been very difficult for me to play guitar and a lot of the complicated chords because I know that big hands are good when it comes to a guitar, but I got
banana paws.
Yeah, but I got way too big. So my grandfather suggested that I play bass.
Yeah.
And I have been playing the bass like a guitar ever since.
Well, you do kind of, I don't think purposely like I'm just going to copy Geddy, but you did find that just, sort of striking
just naturally
style that he employs. I guess maybe having parents as musicians sort of gave you a little advantage because, pretty quickly I was already hearing Rush bass lines coming out of your bedroom when you first got the bass, and I was like, dang, okay. And I remember coming in, maybe you had it 3, 4 months, 5 months maybe, and you were playing the Show Don't Tell, and I've got video of that, maybe I should put that in. Playing that riff and everything and being and I was just amazed. That's why I grabbed my camera and started, because that's not easy to start. Your first bass line should be something simple. So obviously Geddy's bass lines and those sort of bent your ear. You do mention that Geddy is, it's probably in the top of your favorite, bass players.
Right.
Do you remember anything as a kid, like song-wise, that stuck out?
YYZ was a big one. I remember we used to just do something about macaroni and cheese in between the things. Like me and my little brother were just like, cheese it, or something like that.
Cheese it.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was a weird kid. It's his fault. But
probably.
No, I remember Ghost Rider always did stick out. I think Roll the Bones was on a lot of CDs.
Yeah, I tried to pick ones that kind of had fun, a little bit of fun to them since you were a little kid. It didn't throw you right into losing it or something.
Right.
But so I tried to find the ones like, Roll the Bones has the goofy rap in it and the funny voice and all of those things. And
but also you think you put Witch Hunt on a CD.
Well,
so
you gotta start thinking at some point. You're not going to spoon feed you the whole time. Did you have? I know you have a favorite album now. Did you used to have a favorite album? Kind of tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my favorite album was actually Hold Your Fire for a while.
Okay.
I had a CD that he had. I don't know if it was an original CD or not, but I just had his CD and it was just in my car when I first started driving, and I would just kind of listen to it over and over and over again on my way to work. Yeah, that was just my favorite for a while. It had some phenomenal bass playing on it. It's not my favorite anymore. It's kind of my least favorite of the 1980s. Now, just because I've heard better 1980s Rush, but a lot of it is just that's just kind of where the love of Rush started. Really, that was like the first album I really dug. So I would say that one was my favorite because I didn't really have a favorite album before that.
Yeah, and now what's your favorite?
Grace Under Pressure, pretty much tied with Power Windows. Just It's a 2-parter album to me. They're just both. They have similar keyboard sounds, similar production, similar songwriting ability. You can switch the track lists around on those, and you'd have damn good albums both times.
Yeah. If you meet someone who doesn't have a love of Rush, or maybe they didn't get it passed on to them, and I've never heard of Rush. What are they saying? What's going to be your recommendation that if they got to listen to something?
Man.
What are you going to give them that doesn't give them helium, Geddy?
Yeah.
To completely turn them away.
Well, it's probably going to be... It's going to be either Permanent Waves or Moving Pictures, just because those are the most middle of the road.
Yeah.
You've got little bits of every part of Rush in there. You got the riffage, you got the high singing, you got the progginess, and you got the keyboards.
Yeah.
It's just kind of those... One of those albums would probably be...
But it's accessible to...
Yeah, it's very accessible. It's the reason why most of their hits are from those two albums.
Yeah, that is true. I would probably say the same thing. My favorite album is Power Windows. I know that can be a little sugary poppy for some. Mm-hmm. So similarly,
You can't listen to Middletown Dreams and say that that's sugar pop. You can't. You just can't.
I appreciate Rush's wide catalog of abilities. I know a lot of Rush fans. We're pretty split on that, but
to put it in Star Wars terms, it's the prequel fans of
that's right.
Rush fans.
Yeah,
you got the original trilogy fans who it's like, yeah, it's probably the best, and that's like the early '70s with Rush. You got the prequel fans, which is flawed, but if you like it, you really like it, and that's '80s. And then you got the sequels, which is like '90s on, which there are very few who that is their favorite.
Yeah, that is true. Okay, so you're studying film. Mm-hmm. And I've had this idea for a long time. Mm-hmm. So tell me if this is a good potential movie story. What do you call those? Plots?
Yeah.
Anyway, having a time machine, taking their like Power Windows, Hold Your Fire album back in time and playing that for them when they're like recording Fly By Night. And like, say, this is what you're going to sound like in 10 years. How would that affect the music that they produce? Would they be so turned away from it, like that it would, and how that would upset the space-time continuum? And would Rush, having heard their future selves, now sound totally different than they got 10 years later? Could we make that film? This is copyrighted, by the way, because I just said it here on camera.
Patent pending. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a very niche audience for the film.
Yeah. Well, Rush is a very niche.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they would buy it, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that should be could that be an interesting story? I mean,
it could be interesting.
I mean,
but you would have to basically write what Rush would sound like if they heard the '80s stuff,
which would probably be the most difficult thing.
That would be incredibly difficult.
What would that be?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's kind of like if you took Beethoven. Rock and roll, anything, any recorded sound or a keyboard with all of these presets, what would Beethoven do with that?
I know, bring a Mountain Dew Baja Blast and feed it to a 16th century Victorian child and just watch his mind melt.
Right. Yeah, here's a Roland synthesizer and, a Mountain Dew. Go for it.
Go for it.
Well, maybe we could write that movie at some point. Okay, well, that's our origin stories. I'd love to hear your origin story. So, I don't know. Let us know.
Yeah.
When did you first hear Rush? What's your favorite album? Tell us these things. But until next time, I am your digital man, and this is my analog kid.
Analog kid.
Hey, did you like that? I got more if you subscribe.